myself. My name is Michelle Key, and I'm a senior at Chadwick School with an interest in pursuing marine biology with some kind of like climate change minor. And my target goal is trying to become a marine veterinarian because that is something I've always wanted to be since I was young. I was just like veterinarian, 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 and this is where it's brought me to here now.
That's awesome. I love that.
Okay, so I'll just start with like the first question. So, like, what do you like specialize like in like the overarching marine biology subject?
Yeah, so it's kind of changed throughout the years. I kind of started out doing a lot of marine mammal research, focusing on whales, and then it kind of transformed into more marine conservation to where now I work mainly on plastic policy and I get more into the legislation side of it.
Ooh, that's really cool. Like I'm doing like AP Gov right now, so I'm like leaning into like environmentalist thing because like we have like this Google site where like we talk about like current events, and I'm like under the environmentalist, so like I talk about a lot about like the marine plastic issues, and like that's my whole entire like AP art subject is marine is like plastic pollution.
Yeah, it's super fascinating and
Yeah.
definitely a bigger issue than a lot of people realize.
hmm And then like, what is your favorite part about like being a marine biologist?
So I have again I've really gotten into this legislation portion of it, and my favorite thing is seeing all of the work I put into passing these plastic pollution policies and actually have them win and being adapted into nearby cities or in local government. To me, that's really rewarding knowing that I had a hand in making a difference and at least reducing some of the marine debris that does get into the water.
That is really cool.
It's awesome. I love it.
And then, like, what inspired you to get into like the marine field?
Yeah, so kind of like you, I started out really young. My dad tells the story where I was 5 years old, and I'm from New Jersey, and we used to go to the Natural History Museum in New York City all the time, and they have a big giant blue whale display. And he just remembers bringing me, and I was staring at it the whole time and refused to leave the oceans room. And ever since then, I kind of said I was going to be a marine biologist, and everyone was just like, all right, sure, yeah. And here we are.
I'm like really similar. Like we have like the natural history like near like I think it's UC University of Southern California. And like literally when I was younger, I was like every single weekend I was like I want to go to the Natural History Museum. It was like
Right?
I don't know why. I just like I love being like in the halls of mammals, and I just love interacting with like all like the little bugs and critters there. It was really cool.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like how I kind of got drawn to the whole entire like being indeed like a veterinarian or some kind of some kind of line of work that like interacts with wild animals.
Yeah, and it's so awesome to kind of know what you want to do when you're young. And then when people ask you like what you want to do in college, you already have the answer and you've known for a while and you get to
Yeah.
follow that passion.
And then like, what does like a typical day look like for you on the job?
Yeah, so I'm kind of in between positions now. I moved from Hawaii to San Diego, but right now a lot of my work is doing more local government for work for San Diego. So trying to pass plastic pollution bills. We just had a bill in Encinitas about balloons go through to their first hearing. My main focus right now is on styrofoam for the city of San Diego and trying to get it in our surrounding counties as well. And so every day I'm reaching out to council members, trying to draft fun and exciting ways to engage the public, kind of bring educational awareness as well. And I'm learning a lot more of the social media side. That's a new tool that I'm adding to my belt that I haven't really had to get used to before. And so that's just a pretty normal day.
That's like, cool. Like my lacrosse coach, she was like the marine biologist at our school before like she left, and she was like always against like using balloons on like our senior days because of that reason. Like like balloons just fly away and you don't know where they land. Like I remember like backpacking at my school, and like we would see like just random balloons stuck in like bushes and like Joshua
Mhm.
tree, and I'm just like, how did it get all the way over here?
Yeah, it's
And it's
crazy.
just,
There are may much cooler ways to celebrate.
yeah. So like yeah, we did that for like homecoming. Homecoming we didn't have any balloons. We just had like a lot of reusable like cardboard boxes that we had in the back. So
Very cool.
different ways to be sustainable.
Exactly.
And then like what are some I think you kind of like went over this already, but like what are some of like the amazing things you've seen slash like discovered when you are working?
Yeah, so a lot of my work in Hawaii was marine debris work, and just seeing how plastic from all over the world ended up on this tiny island was really eye-opening for me. And that's what really got me into more of the policy side, because I was seeing all this waste and toothbrushes from Japan and hagfish trash from California and all of this conglomerate of trash on this little island. And I was just like, all right, we need to do something. And every individual can make their sustainable changes. But if we don't enact policy, we're really not going to get the results that we want to see that are going to make a difference. And so just seeing that really changed my whole field of study.
Yeah, I might have that turning point too. Like my family's like from Indonesia, so like sometimes we would go over there to see my grandparents, and like as Indonesia's like a third world country, there's definitely like you see that the plastic pollution like everywhere. Like it's just on the streets and the waterways. It's building up, and like it's crazy. Like I could totally see like my drawn to that policy thing, but I don't know how well I would work out with
Give it a try,
it. And then like uh what are some like you also went over this, but like what are some major accomplishments that you've achieved, like other than like doing like the major changes you have done like within like smaller like local governments?
Yeah, so the thing that I'm most proud of was a few years ago, I helped work a piece of legislation that went through to the Supreme Court, and it had to do with a wastewater treatment facility dumping nitrogen rich water into the ocean, and it was having a negative effect on the coral reefs over in Hawaii. And so I helped with a bunch of other NGOs to get this legislation to kind of stop the effluent water coming out of these wastewater facilities. It went from county government all the way to the Supreme Court, and then we ended up winning. So the wastewater treatment facility had to change their ways and stop pumping water out into the ocean. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg got to read the legislation and agree with what we were trying to do. And she is one of my personal heroes. So that's probably the coolest
That's
thing I will
that's
ever
so
do.
cool. Like the fact that like you were able to go all the way to like the Supreme Court, that's like so cool to
Yeah, it was such a great group effort of a bunch of NGOs and just kind of people saying, hey, what are you doing? We need you to stop. And it actually succeeding. And it was awesome.
mm. And then like as we're currently living through like a climate crisis, like what are some of the major effects of climate change in like your specific area of work?
Yeah, so I'm seeing it's a little bit different every place that I've lived, but the one that is a major issue across the board is sea level rise and coastal erosion that is becoming very prevalent, especially here in California and where I went to school in Florida. You could see it pretty often, even when it rains, the whole town seems to flood, especially here in California when you see sea cliffs starting to break and you see that coastal erosion. That's just going to increase with sea level rise. And then beachfront properties are really going to become into effect. And I am of the belief that it costs less now to try to prevent that rather than having to pay back those costs when by if we keep ignoring sea level rise and until we get to a point where we have no choice but to retreat. I think
Definitely.
preventative over later dealing with it.
Yeah, definitely. And then like what does like new technology in like your area of like marine biology look like, and like how's it like changing the field in your eyes?
Yeah, so new technology, I have gotten really interested in drone work, and I think that is an awesome tool to be able to see from above, especially I'm still have a hand in the marine mammal science field and being able to use drones to minimally kind of disturb animals. They don't seem to have too much of an effect right now, and to be able to study them from that vantage point without causing any harm is invaluable. And I think we'll only see that get better, and we can learn so much more about these animals just as the technology does continue to grow.
Ooh, okay. Um, it's going off like your marine like mammals like science field. Like what do you exactly do, like more specifically in it?
Yes. So I went to grad school to kind of study policy and how we can protect endangered species. And over the pandemic, me and my co-founder created a project called California Coastal Cetaceans, where we study the blue whales off the coast of San Diego. There's a big gap in the research kind of on those animals here. There's a lot of work being done in Mexico and a lot of work being done up towards Alaska and that area, but kind of California and the center area is a little data deficient. So we have started this project to go out and kind of see what we can find at this point. And then later on, we have hopes of working with local communities to increase women in STEM and get like misrepresented and underrepresented children and communities out onto the water into these more data marine science fields. So that's in the works.
That's awesome. Like I remember like my school would sometimes do like whale watching trips like in my area, but like I remember like we don't really see that many whales. We just know like they're just like dolphins would pop up once in a while, but like definitely not like those big whales that like are down in San Diego, which I think is something I really want to see and do at one point.
Yeah, you should totally come down here. We got all sorts of stuff. I went whale watching last week and we saw gray whales.
Ooh, awesome. That's so cool. And then like how have your like teamwork skills been challenged in your line of work?
Yeah, so I think being a female in science, it has been very male dominated. And I think I kind of had to fight for my voice and fight for my spot to be able to call myself a researcher and create my own projects and stuff. And so learning how to work with people who might discredit you or not give you your credit has definitely been a skill that I've worked. And as I've gotten higher up into my field, then I've had to learn how to manage and not micromanage and be able to collaborate with all sorts of different communities and people. And so teamwork is massive if you want to get a holistic view of everything.
Yeah, because like I know like a lot of sciences are like sometimes you have to work like just totally alone in a lab, and like people say that all the time. I'm like, no, you have like a whole entire research team with you. Like you might be working a lot alone by yourself for a second, but then you definitely have to communicate with others in order to get everything done.
Oh yeah, I'm constantly working with people. I'm rarely ever by myself, and it's a lot easier to work with a bunch of people who want the common goal rather than just try and do it by yourself.
And then like finally for like the last question, like what is your favorite marine animal?
So I am a big whale nerd. My favorite whale is the beluga whale. Couldn't tell you why. Being from New Jersey, we sure don't have beluga whales, but I just became obsessed when I was young and went to the Georgia Aquarium and saw beluga whales in person for the first time when I was little, and it was awesome. But really, any whale at this point is near and dear to my heart.
I've seen like so many like videos of beluga whales just being like so like derpy and like so funny at aquariums. It's so cute. It's so cute.
They're adorable.
Yeah. Like my favorite, I think it might be biased because my school's mascot is a dolphin. So dolphins are my favorite marine animal. It's the mascot for our schools. It's really cool. It was a really
you have to.
And thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure talking with you, and we'll end the interview here. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. It was so great talking to you.
This strangest feeling, don't know what to believe in. 'Cause every time you touch me, I can't control my body. Oh, baby, you are on my mind, all I think about, and I don't wanna stop. I don't wanna stop.